Hello, my name is Erin from Team Zend Out, and I'm here to share a little bit today about Virgo season. So we're already a bit into Virgo season, we're starting to feel into this energy, sink into this energy, and I'm just going to share a bit about what Virgo is about, some of the tarot cards that Virgo is associated with, and how you can connect with Virgo in your own chart. And you can read the full blog post that I wrote about this if you'd like on zendout.com/blog, or you can find it in our bio link. So Mercurial Virgo wants to discern and understand. We can think of the digestive organs in the body, which are associated with Virgo in medical astrology, as the organs that are asking us what's no longer needed, what can be cleansed and released, right? And so Virgo is doing this. Virgo is asking what is no longer needed, what can be cleansed and released. Virgo is analyzing, discerning, purifying. Virgo is also asking what is of value and should be expanded, should be leaned into. At its core, I also like to think of Virgo as the archetype of the priestess, of the healer. Virgo is a sign that brings us into devotion and service, asking, what are you devoted to? What are you in service of? How are you pouring your gifts out for the world, to serve the world, to show up for ourselves, for our communities, for the people that we love, the people that need us, the most marginalized among us? Showing up in service and devoting ourselves to, which is so interesting to think about when we're thinking a lot about what we're against, right? We think about we're against something, we're anti-something, like anti-racist, anti-homophobia, like there are all these things that we're like, well, not that, right? And that's important too, absolutely, I think that's important. But the interesting thing to me about Virgo is, so it's like, okay, so what are you devoting yourself to then? To justice, to love, to liberation, to expansion. What's the thing that you're not against, that you are for, that you are devoting yourself to, your time, your energy, your gifts, and bringing this loving, like, priestess energy to it. I think of Virgos also being associated with the Vestal Virgins in the ancient temples, goddess temples in Rome, who would tend to the sacred flames in the temples. So it's that kind of energy. Some astrologers also feel that Virgo is ruled by Chiron, which is the wounded healer asteroid. So we have Mercury on one hand that brings us that sort of discerning, analyzing, purifying energy, and we also have Chiron here, who brings in that healer, that priestess archetype. And Chiron's rulership really offers this aspect to Virgo of deep embodied healing. Virgo is so much about the body and holistic health, and Chiron is bringing in that aspect of healing and uniting the body, the mind, the spirit. So if you'd like, maybe close your eyes for a moment while I share these next few words and just feel into them in your body. And if you don't want to close your eyes, or you can't, that's okay too. But when I think of Virgo, I think of the lush fullness of late summer. I think of the back to school energy of getting all your ducks in a row, getting organized for fall. I think of building altars with fresh flowers. I think of making offerings to the earth, to the rivers. I think of nourishing the body with food and care and intuitive movement. And so you could just ask yourself here, what does Virgo make you think of? What does Virgo bring up for you, connect you to? Those are just my examples. So just feeling into this for a moment. And if nothing's coming up for you, that's okay. You might just reflect on it later. You might take some notes this Virgo season around what your attention is drawn to, how you've been feeling, what you've been really interested in, what you've been noticing in nature around you. I think those are really beautiful ways to connect with these astrological signs and archetypes. And speaking of archetypes, I want to share the cards in the tarot that are associated with Virgo. So I've got my cards here. I've got two different decks. The Modern Witch Tarot, which I am obsessed with this card, and the Lioness Oracle Tarot, which I also adore this deck so much. So let's start with the Magician. The Magician is ruled by Mercury, so that's why these cards are associated with Virgo. And so this is pointing to that mercurial aspect of Virgo, right? Teaching us that when we use intellect, emotion, creativity, spiritual downloads, everything we have, we can create, we can birth, we can serve. The Queen of Pentacles is mutable earth in the court cards in my tarot practice. This is the Lioness deck. And so this is helping us root into the earth aspect of Virgo, right? Virgo, I'm like, did I mention this? Virgo is our mutable earth sign. So we're rooting into the earthy groundedness, the earth energy of this sign through these cards. The Queen of Pentacles teaches us how to be in our body, how to work in the most aligned ways towards what we desire, and how to honor ourselves as nature, not as something that is separate from nature, but as a manifestation of nature, as something that is intrinsically part of nature. And the last card I have is the Hermit. So the Hermit is ruled by Virgo. And later, if you'd like, you might pause the video and just let these images sink in, like really taking a moment to sit with them and noticing how they feel in your body, noticing any thoughts that come up, any images or symbols that your attention is drawn to. But yeah, so these are our Virgo cards. And the Hermit is really bringing up again that aspect of Virgo being in service. The idea of the Hermit is this archetype of sharing wisdom and knowledge that you've accumulated through life experience, through self-discovery, through deep reflection. So being in service through that sharing of knowledge and wisdom. So if you want to learn more about the energy of Virgo, definitely go check out the blog post at the link in our bio. And if you want to learn more about your specific relationship with Virgo in your chart, then you can check out your 6th house, see what sign rules your 6th house, which is the house that is traditionally ruled by Virgo. You can look at what house Virgo rules in your chart. That will be different for, well, it won't be different for all of us, but there are 12 options, so there's a wide variety of houses that you could have ruled by Virgo, and any planets that you have in Virgo. So I don't have any planets in Virgo, but I'm a Virgo rising, and so I know that Virgo is ruling my 1st house, which provides a really interesting flavor and combination for me to feel into and look into. And then I can also look at the rulership of my 6th house. So take a look at your birth chart if you'd like to figure that out. You can also go to zendout.com/blog and search birth chart in the little search bar. And there are some posts that will help you figure out your birth chart if you're like, what is that and how do I find it? So we're wishing you a beautiful Virgo season. I hope that this Virgo season inspires all of us to show up more in service, to think about what we're devoting ourselves to clear what needs to be purified and released, and really expand in alignment with our values and what we want to create more of and see more of.